beautiful multi-dimensional beings, earth angels, and starseeds incarnated down here on the 3D plane. Welcome back to another channel message and reading for you beautiful souls. This channel message and reading is all about how you guys perceive time, and your perception of time is in an energetic level and a feeling energetic space rather than a 3D physical sensation of time, in a way that your sense and perception of time is very interesting because of how attuned and tapped in you are to the quantum realm, to feeling your place and movement in distance between certain levels of frequency. And these levels of frequency are jumps between by you in mental thought travel, mental alchemy, and how you guys really have this deeper inner connection to feeling when it comes to feeling where you are in the quantum realm, what dimensional frequency you're in, what vibration you're in, and how you can feel the distance of jumps that you make between different vibrational timelines and mental energetic planes of frequency. So we're going to explain this in a bit more detail, getting more into it, work through the channeling. I also have a diagram drawn up again for you guys. So how this started was Spirit saying, you know, you're feeling the perception of time on an energetic quantum level. The 3D perception of feeling time would be feeling the difference between the feeling length of yesterday to today, right? We can feel, and it's like this essence of concept about feeling time, feeling the distances of time. So you can feel the distance between yesterday and today. You can feel the distance between last week and today. But when you guys are tuned into more of the quantum realm, this all becomes very distorted in a sense that it really doesn't correlate to 3D time, in a way that the feeling of yesterday can feel longer ago than certain things that happened last week on an energetic level. So this is what we're really getting into and explaining. So you being highly tuned into feeling energy on a quantum level, meaning that you don't feel time on a 3D perception, but in a quantum sense of energetic distance that you've traveled in frequency from the frequencies you were at, say, yesterday or last week. So you can feel the distance in energetic difference between the frequency you were in last week and the frequency you're in today. And this distance can change because we're always traveling through different amounts of frequency. Like 1 week we could just kind of ruminate in a similar frequency the whole week, or another week we could quantum leap through a chunk of different frequencies, and we could be vibrating at a very different plane, in a different timeline plane of vibration by the end of the week. So in the same weeks, right? 1 week you don't really travel much energetically, and the next you do. These will feel completely different in a sense that, you know, the week you don't travel much, everything feels like yesterday, and the week you travel loads, the days of that week could feel like they were like months ago. So it's this feeling of energetic distance, and that's what I've got a diagram of. So like we say, this means your perception of time is in a feeling of distance. You feel distance on a quantum level through timeline frequencies correlated to the distance you've traveled energetically between frequencies. For example, yeah, we've already said example, but for example, yesterday you could have been in, right, let's get the diagram. This is a really poor diagram. It's literally just to clarify it a little bit better. But let's say, for example, these are all the different timelines of frequency, because, you know, you guys going down, we've got lower levels of frequency and higher levels of frequency, and these can be shown as timelines. Okay, ignore these dots for now, right? But these layers of frequency can be different timelines. So in a better diagram, these would all be labeled with a specific vibration. The higher you're going, the higher the vibration it's going. When we reside in certain planes of vibration, that affects our mental mindset because it affects the frequencies of thought that we're currently inhabiting. Lower frequencies often are more uncomfortable. They often hold what the 3D mind knows as more negative feelings, and higher frequencies holding higher vibrational energies of perspective, thoughts, and everything like that, right? Thoughts, judgments about you, your situation. So depending on where we are frequency wise in a mental plane sense, in the quantum realm, really affects our mental mindset, how our thoughts are, the tone of vibration of our thoughts, and our outlook on life. And the higher the frequency, the more encompassing perspectives we can hold. The lower the frequency, the more limited our perspective becomes. So in this example, when we're talking about yesterday, you could have been in, say, this timeline of frequency, right? Then the next day, you could have thought alchemized a lot and thought traveled a lot, thinking about things, alchemizing your perspectives into higher perspectives of understanding. Understanding is how we transform thoughts and travel through thoughts, right? Create distance. Understanding is how we create distance to travel up through frequencies. So say you're in this timeline frequency one day, and then the next day you've like jumped all the way up here through going through one by one, kind of in a walking, thinking sense between your mindset that was down here yesterday. So this chunk of distance is the distance of feeling that you'll feel between time. Okay, so from yesterday to today, you will feel the distance in the vibrational planes that you've traveled from yesterday to today. So if you've traveled a lot, and especially on things like the solar eclipse, we tend to quantum leap in frequencies, in timelines. And I know that frequencies and timelines we can talk about in a 3D sense, in effect of your physical reality. We can be in certain frequencies of timeline in our physical reality, but we can also jump out and around to different frequencies mentally. So we're looking at these as separate aspects. Your physical timeline that you're in being of a frequency, but that being separate to the frequencies you're embodying on your mental plane. We can jump around to different ones a lot, and eventually they do affect our physical timeline frequency, but it's more of like a delayed manifestation response. So we can jump to different frequencies just in the day-to-day, necessarily not impacting our reality in its core foundational sense until we embody that frequency for a while, and then our reality shifts to that frequency. So you will feel the distance and gap between the vibrations that you travel between. So when we say you quantum leap frequencies, quantum leaps can be quite noticeable by the fact that your mindset shifts a lot, in a way that you have shifted to a different vibrational plane of frequency, and depending what that is, we normally shift higher perspectives are then available in ways you couldn't see before. Feelings of higher frequencies, feelings of clarity, feelings of understanding that were not had in the before stage of the shift. So yeah, I hope this is clear when I say you can feel the distance between the energetic time that you've created mentally, and how, say we were saying before, in 1 week you could travel this much, okay, and this makes a longer feeling of time. It creates a longer distance of time to where you are at here. So say on Monday you're at this low vibration, and then on Thursday you're up here. Monday will feel very far away, but let's say in a week you just stay here, or say Monday you're here and then Wednesday you're here, right? It's going to feel like it's actually quite close together, right? The distance of time between the week will feel shorter and more together. But when we quantum leap, let's say a month goes by, it can feel like a year, because when we quantum leap, we shift to a large amount of jump of timeline frequencies, so that distance can feel so far, it can feel so long ago. It's kind of like this concept of how when you recall a memory from a certain day, you're recalling a memory, and how you remember that is you kind of refer back to the frequency plane inside yourself of where you were at. And if you're at a frequency plane quite far away from that day that you're remembering, where you were in the timeline of that day, it can feel like it was a very long time ago. So it's like you jump around through different frequencies a lot, and if you jump around different frequencies a lot very often, it can create this sense of a longer time, because you've traveled so much in a short period of time, that it almost feels like you've done more, right? Like in a day when you're really busy and you do loads of different things, that day feels really long because you've done so much in it. It's like you guys quantum travel between different dimensions so much that it feels like more time has passed than it maybe has in the 3D reality as well. Especially you guys in situations of quantum leaping when it comes to big timelines collapsing. Okay, so when we're talking about big quantum leap shifts, when it comes to the collapsing of foundational timelines, such as a relationship, a core relationship, a job, a location, when this happens, you can jump a massive chunk up to a new frequency, and then the feeling of being in that relationship, or the feeling of being in that job, or the feeling of being in that location actually feels like it could have been like a year ago, even if it was last month, because the timeline jump is so significant, right? We can also collapse timelines but stay in the same frequency sometimes, or just slightly altered, and so it can feel like it's very close. And this, we're going to get into it a bit better as well, but say for example, sometimes when painful things happen, it can feel like yesterday for a long time. That's because no energetic distance has been created in the mind. No energetic distance in frequency has changed between when the situation happened and how it mentally made us feel to how we feel now could mentally feel exactly the same, and that means there's no energetic distance being created. So situations that are painful, that do not get revisited, reflect upon, alchemized, or entered into, understand, or heal, feel very like they just happened yesterday, because there's no inner alchemy between vibrational distance that has been created. And I'm going to explain that a bit clearer here on this next page, right, of how you guys, there's many types of time, but time on a 3D level physical world is very different to mental, astral, quantum time. And in the mind, we create time. We create time with distance, and we create distance with thought movement, walking with our thoughts, following our thoughts to create that distance. The same as in the physical physics of reality, distance, speed, and time are all connected. In that triangle, I'm pretty sure it's distance, speed, and time, correct me if I'm wrong, but distance, speed, and time are all connected in this triangle, right? So they all kind of create each other. The more distance that you've walked in your physical reality, the more time has been taken, but that can be impacted and affected by our speed, because I could run the same distance and it could be a different time to if I walked that distance. So speed is the variation of how much distance we can create, or how much time we can create within a distance, right? Speed affects how much time can be created within a specific distance. So, right, let's just slow down. Let's just work through this slowly, because sometimes these energetic downloads can be a bit of a mind fuck for me as well. So what we're talking about here is, back to the loop triangle, distance, speed, and time. They create each other, but what happens in the physical is that, this is very much running on autopilot, in a sense that time is almost like a constant, in effect, that the sun rises, the time's ticking, the sun goes down, like time's very different. Whereas in the mental reality of realm, you're in the quantum space, which means that time is like non-existent, in a sense that it becomes very malleable. We can live in different times. We are the creator of time in our mind. We can pull past memories up into this moment that we're in, and we can be in a different time than where we physically are right now. When we're not being present, like being present means we're in the present moment of time, mentally and physically, like our mental realms linked up to our physical presentness of time. But when we're zoning out, we're daydreaming, we're reflecting, you don't have to be in this present moment. You can be in other periods of time, like the past or future situations, from how you're pulling them up through your mind to be in this moment, right? So it's like internally we create time and we move time through us. Hate when people park right outside my window, blocking my light, blocking my shine. But anyway, how to create time on an internal level is with this diagram of distance, speed, and time, right? The more inner distance you travel by thought, the more time you've created. So thoughts allow us to travel through different dimensional planes and frequencies, as each thought resides in a certain frequency, and the progression of thought can help us travel or move through into other frequencies. For example, the traits that come with different dimensional planes, as we said, these are all different frequencies of planes, but this affects us in an emotional and physical and mental way, in a sense that perspectives of certain frequencies will be different. Like if you look at the scale of vibration, we go right down from grief all the way to enlightenment, and somewhere between there in the 4D is acceptance, right? So depending on what vibrational plane you're in depends on your perspectives. When we're in lower planes of dimension, we get more perspectives of like victim mentality, or like it's like a resistance type of perspective. When we get up to the 4D, there's an acceptance energy that's there. So if we are mentally thinking in a certain frequency, we can create thoughts that can travel us through into other frequencies. For example, by pulling a situation into your mind and feeling it, right, that maybe happened in the past, we can enter the energetic frequency that situation's holding inside of you. Okay, so we get plonked into the timeline mental plane space that energy is created inside of us. So a certain memory can have certain emotions for me, and those emotions create the frequency plane of vibration, because emotions have vibration. So if I'm feeling a memory of a situation that I have a lot of pain in, it will take me to a frequency plane in the astral space, the mental plane, that's very low down. And the longer that I sit in it, the more thoughts I produce, the more reflection that I'm thinking about it. I'm unpicking the situation, finding new loops of understanding or ways of looking at things. That ultimately travels my ball of awareness out from the perspectives that it first was in when I first reflected on that memory, maybe traveled up to here now, because I understand it better with the more time, the more physical time spent in reflection about certain situations also helps us to create a internal time distance as well. So they kind of do come into interaction with themselves, because to create mental distance, to create mental time away from the past, we need to have physical time of reflection to do so. Hopefully this is all making sense, you guys. But let's see. So yeah, thoughts allow us to travel through different dimensional planes and frequencies. Each thought resides in a certain frequency, and the progression of thought between a certain situation, right? The progression of thought perspective, the progression of understanding, the progression of thoughts created in reflection of this particular moment or situation can help create an energetic distance of time internally. And that is why we say, and I've thought about this a lot before in past times, is about how that saying, time heals all wounds. Well, for a broken arm, we need physical time. But what about for an emotional wound? An emotional wound needs mental and inner time. So mental and quantum and inner time happens and is created by us through creating a distance from it, right? A distance from that point in time mentally. So this is the point in time mentally. We need to create an internal distance to have that situation feel energetically like it's further away in the past. So this is what we were talking about earlier, about how certain situations that are unhealed, unreflected upon, unopened, unthought about, they're suppressed, they are created this energy of not wanting to enter that memory or that frequency to alchemize it. So maybe we do things like distract ourselves or avoid about thinking about it. This means no energetic time or distance has been created in an emotional sense, and that's why it feels like it was yesterday, when years can pass if we don't enter the reflective energy in certain situations to understand them and to work through them. So this is really about, like we say, time heals all wounds. Physical time heals physical wounds, but we need to create mental time to heal emotional wounds, and for emotional wounds to feel like they're actually in the past and we've moved away from them energetically means that we have to create that distance of time ourselves. So this means creating a distance of time in the mind, which we can do through thought travel, because your thought travel takes you to different dimensional spaces in the mental realm, in the quantum realm. Your thought travel takes you to different frequencies of perspective and plane from where your awareness was sitting from that situation in the first place, right? So, like I say, hopefully that's making sense, but this whole aspect, or the whole focus of this reading, is that you guys can create and do this a lot of mental time mastery, in a sense that you are constantly thinking, reflecting, and active in the astral space. You're constantly in astral space reflection, maybe gaining new perspectives, or thinking over certain situations, or thinking over certain concepts and certain lessons, or certain what's that word? Thinking over certain energetic lessons, in a sense that when we say, like, you're integrating your wisdom and your higher perspectives into your thought patterns about situations, and you do this frequently, and this means you're constantly creating a lot of distance in time between situations that happened in the past and you now. Okay, so you create a lot of distance in the astral space by your thought reflection, because you guys think and reflect a lot about maybe doing meditations or journaling on things to help you heal, or reflecting on past situations to help you understand them better, and you create a lot of mental time and distance, therefore energetically and emotionally, away from things in the past, especially things that were wounding or caused pain. And so you guys are alchemists of thought, because you're literally walking your awareness up to higher frequency planes of perspective and residing. And this means you've alchemized that energy. You've walked your awareness out from a lower plane into a higher plane. It also means that you guys, like we say, you feel the distance in time in an energetic sense rather than a physical sense, and how this could be heightened right now because of certain shifts you've been going through, that certain versions of yourself, certain situations, just in general, your weeks going by could really vary in how the time is felt to you. Meaning that, like, say last week could feel months ago. It really just depends on what frequency plane you've shifted into to where you were before, and how long ago that feels in the sense of energetic distance. You guys are quantum leaping a lot right now, which means you're creating a lot of internal distance. And yeah, this can just affect how we feel time and everything like that. So let's see what's on the last page. So with thought, like, this might repeat a few bits, but with thought we can walk our awareness into different energetic places within quantumly by moving ourselves by thought out of certain frequencies of reflection to make a movement internally away from the past and up to new states of consciousness, which hold different perspectives of looking at things, different vibrational perspectives of feeling about things and understanding things differently. And the jump of distance between dimensional planes is what we feel as time. The bigger the distance, the longer ago it feels. The shorter the distance, the more recent it feels. And this has no correlation between how long ago it was in the 3D realm or plane, right? So it's very, very, very interesting. We probably could branch into some other areas about this, like this feeling of time distance, how it's not correlated to the 3D plane in a sense of time, how certain versions of yourself could feel like they were not long ago at all, even if they were a very long time ago, or on the contrary, they could feel a very long time ago, even if they were, say, like last week. It really just depends on our own emotional or thought alchemy and where we're shifting into. You guys are multi-dimensional beings, so it means that you can shift between different timelines of frequency very frequently, and you do this very often. You have many different shifting keys, which means to this goes into quite a lot, actually, because I know we said it quite simply in the fact of walking ourselves to higher vibrational timelines, but to do that you need shifting keys from this frequency to this frequency to this frequency to kind of unlock, to move through them, right? Because how can you go from like pain to acceptance? This comes with the fact you have a lot of downloaded higher perspectives. Higher perspectives are your shifting keys, your golden keys, because your higher perspectives bring you understanding, and ultimately understanding dissolves the blockages from where we are to moving to where to another plane of dimension. Understanding is the connector between them, and so when we lack understanding, we can get stuck in certain frequency planes. Say a situation happened, but we really can't understand it through like the pain we're feeling or something like that. We can often become stuck in certain frequency planes and not move out of them, and that is where the saying "it feels like yesterday" would come into play, because if we're not moving in energetic frequency from a situation, we're staying essentially in the same time. Like, we can stay stuck in time mentally in about certain situations or in past events and things like that when we're not moving energetically, right? And it's like this whole concept of how physical time is different to mental, internal, and quantum time, and how, you know, we need to be the ones to create energetic time within us to move on and keep moving with the present moment, because you in the present moment are constantly shifting and going through evolutions of consciousness, shifting your physical reality to different frequencies. So the more situations we alchemize from being in lower vibrations, jumping up to higher ones, the more the whole of us can be taken into these higher realms. So let's say, for example, you have a dot for every kind of spiritual lesson or situation that's occurred. You've walked a lot of these past situations up to higher vibrational planes. And when it gets to the point where we've walked all of these dots from the past up here, we can wholly and fully embody these higher frequencies. Whereas when we have situations still lingering from the past, residing in lower planes of feeling and frequency, this can keep parts of us tied to lower planes of dimension, which means we can still enter and be in higher planes, but it's still got cords to lower planes, so we can't fully wholly embody those frequencies. This is why in culmination periods of time up to the eclipse, or up to periods of time where your guides are preparing you for quantum leaps and shifts, we get intense emotions arise up, bringing up memories of past situations, unlocking past stored energies, because past stored energies are energies that are residing in lower planes of dimension. They are this circle holding that pocket of frequency created by that situation. And when we shift up to higher timelines, what happens is, in preparation for that, we get this intensity of emotion rise up that can bring up all the stored energies that are going unnoticed, that are still residing in lower frequencies. And by them coming up, you naturally mentally work through them, reflect on them, and shift your perception of them or understanding of them. And by doing this, you shift them up here. So this is like your guide specifically unlocks certain energies in you of situations or arise up stored energies within you when you're in preparation for a quantum shift. Because when you've moved up frequencies of these other situations, it means that you can quantum shift wholly to a new dimensional plane. So you guys have quantum shifted a lot, and this could be something that you've recently gone through as well, in a way that you've alchemized a lot of feelings or thoughts to the past. These can be random memories popping up, random situations. We can process these in alchemy through dreams, through spirit bringing these situations up through dreams, or through outer situations being a mirror of that repeated cycle. For example, if there's a certain stored energy created by a situation in childhood, we might get a reflected cycle happen to us that makes us feel the same energies in our physical now, that's repeated but in different ways, so that it can raise up the same feelings and energy to be understood at a deeper level now, so that the understanding of the situation you're ongoing now will shift the understanding of the other situation that it's a reflection of in the past. So you guys, this is all about mental thought alchemy. This is all about you creating distance within you to situations, to walking them to different frequency planes, to alchemizing energy up through the layers of vibration, through walking your ball of awareness of where you're mentally residing up to different states of perspective and understanding, and how this can create a effect of difference in feeling of time, how you feel and sense time on an energetic level, and how you create time internally within yourself, and how this can be done differently for different people, how the speed of alchemy can be different for different people, how the distance in alchemy could be shortening for you. For example, if a certain situation happens that causes some low frequencies of energy to be arose within you, low frequencies of vibration such as anger, frustration, sadness, things like this, the distance in time could be shortening between how fast you can alchemize those perspectives, because you have new higher perspective keys. So you can create a further distance of time depending on the speed of alchemy as well, right? So it's all connected together in this distance, time, speed triangle. But yeah, overall, that is the reading for you guys. I hope this has helped in some way, shape, or form, and I will speak to you all in the next reading. Mwah.